Hi, welcome to Japan-lessons.com. My name is Hayden Growden, and today we're going to talk about transitive and intransitive verbs teaching strategies and mouse. Okay, the question is like, why do we have to use transitive and intransitive verbs? In English, we don't use them, and so uh, why should we learn them when they're in Japanese? If you have a language that uses them like Japanese and you don't use them, it does seem pretty coarse and illogical sometimes because the wrong verb or there's a mismatch in the words. I try to give you an example here that's not the same thing, but just illustrate the concept of the grammatical form. In English, we generally teach grammatical structure, subject, verb, object to children at a very young age, perhaps grade 1, 2, 3. And there's a very famous poem, ballad by Dr. Seuss called Sam I Am, Do You Like Green Eggs and Ham? And this is used to teach the concept in a really terrific way because it shows the children how the structure works, and it sort of creates the problem of if you don't structure your sentences properly and put the right verb attached to the right object or subject, and in a structure that is a convention that we use all the time, then it's really pretty confusing, and it sends us spinning in logical circles trying to nut out what this sentence really means. So we've got a person there now. Usually the subject of our sentence is the person. It's quite often me or you. In this sentence, Dr. Seuss, it starts out, Sam, I am. So who's the subject? Is it Sam? Is it I? Is it a person whose name is Sam, initial second name is I, and surname is am with a lowercase a? Then he's talking about himself in the third person. If it is Sam, I am. And it goes like, Sam, I am, do you like green eggs and ham? And the reader of the poem answers that themselves. There's conflicts everywhere on just who's speaking, and we're jumping around. Our mind's jumping around. Maybe he's changed hats and he's suddenly acting someone else now. We keep trying to improvise and put meaning and subject and structure into this structure, but it's just not there, and it's deliberately conflicted all the way through to illustrate that point. That is not the same thing as transitive and intransitive verbs in Japanese, but they do have a meaning, and they do depend on subject, object, verb. Transitive, by definition, is a verb that acts on an object. So that's I kick the football being the object and kick being the verb. I kick it. It's a transitive verb. If I kick, I could just stand here and kick my leg right up high in the air. That's intransitive. It's me as the subject kicking. There's no object that's getting kicked. So actually we have transitive and intransitive in English, but we don't have a different verb and a grammatical rule around it. We just when we come to this situation, we've got a way of dealing with it. It doesn't require special words and things. Okay, so that of the first part, it just creates for students a whole grammar point here that doesn't seem to exist in English. And then, we've got to, first of all, give that concept to the children that there is a grammar point here, and there's something to learn and try and illustrate those subject, object, verb relationships, just so they got that fundamental piece straight. And then from that, we can start thinking about the structures and the knowledge that's required in terms of vocabulary and conjugations and arrangements that are necessary. And actually, there's a huge amount of material in this grammar point. There's hundreds of words, thousands of words that they could potentially learn. So we've got to think about just how they can have more, not so much a learning strategy, but a dealing with it strategy where they can at least know a few and make a reasonable guess at the rest. I think we try and develop these skills sort of bit by bit. And obviously a person would build their language skills over a lifetime of learning. For those that go on to very high levels and become professors, of which I'm not one, they obviously will get to know more and more transitive and intransitive verbs if they're in Japan. Okay, so I've made a film here, a series called The Little Red Hen. Little Red Hen has two characters. One's called Tadoshi, and another one's called Jidoshi. There's two main characters. Now, the characters are mutton birds. Mutton birds, they're absolutely charming animals and extremely intelligent. Humble they may be or appear, but it's sometimes those humble creatures and people that are actually the really great people in our societies. And mutton birds are good candidates for that. These creatures pair bond, so they have like their husband and a wife, and they have just one egg a year. They make a burrow and they lay their egg in their burrow, and every day it's usually like not too far from the coast, and every day either usually alternating, I think, the man or the female mutton bird goes flying out, who knows, 10 kilometres or so from the coast out to sea, and they know how to catch some fish there and bring them back. And what's really lovely is that each mutton bird has a unique song, and that certainly gives us artists quite a lot of license here, because we can't make a definitive limit on what songs are possible. Makes it ideal for teaching the rules of transitive, intransitive conjugations. So for the mutton birds, Tadoshi is a mutton bird, and she only ever uses transitive verbs. So that's kind of interesting, isn't it? We can have a character that is only transitive. Why does Little Red Hen work for this? Well, Little Red Hen was a story about one really busybody bird and one really lazy bird. And the busy bird says, "Who's going to make the bread?" And the lazy bird says, "Not I," says the other hen. So the red hen goes and makes the bread. That's transitive, does a verb to an object. So Tadoshi ends up being the transitive one. Male or female is great because mutton birds, they can change roles and both swap around the different duties. And they live this lovely family life where they pair bond, they stay together all their lives, they're loyal to each other. It's got a whole bunch of just really good messages, and the importance of family as well. There are some birds probably that are loners out there, and I don't know, is that not a little bit cold and scary? It's really nice that they've got this place to go back to and their stories to tell each other, and also just the belief in each other, the reliance that they know that each is doing their duty and bringing home the dinner and cleaning house or whatever the other ones are doing, keeping the young safe. So it's a wonderful story, and these are wonderful creatures. And not so long ago, a couple of centuries ago, they were one of the most populous birds on Earth. And the sailors had seen them, for hundreds of years as they'd been sailing all through Asia and discovering the world. And they'd called them shearwaters because these birds would fly along and dip a wing into the water and make a bit of a white splash, hence shearwater. And that must be all a part of the attack and fishing method that they're using. But that's the history of these birds, and they've been flying between Australia and Japan for thousands of years, many thousands of years before any human had become aware of these other places, let alone come to see that there's people there and things there and learn about them. The mutton birds had been there, watching it all along. It was all just all known to them. So how massively intelligent and wise they are. Wise and beautiful. They're a beautiful animal, and we should all have some some empathy for them and look after them. So Tadoshi's song is asu eru, asu u, asu waru, uru, aseru. You can sing it as you like, and I'm sure there's some better mutton birds out there than me who can get this song really sounding like a mutton bird. Jidoshi is the one that just talks about himself or herself, as in it's intransitive. It's just subject verb. So I kick, I eat, I see, these sorts of things that you do to yourself, or one does within oneself. And subject doesn't have to be a person, by the way. It can be, who knows, an object of some sort. So in that case, if you're defining a verb that has happened to any object, then you can use the object as a subject, and and that becomes a subject, and you don't have another subject. You can only have one subject in the sentence. So jidoshi, and here's the song for jidoshi. Esu, ieru, u, eru, u, aseru, u, waseru. So that's a jidoshi song, and these are the endings of the verbs that sort of move as they change from transitive to intransitive. Okay, so here's just a short activity. How many how many transitive intransitive pairs could you write down now? Just let's have a little shot. Let's see if we can share them in the questions tab. Let's see if we can share them and just see how many people know, and let's see how they come up with offhand. And one of the challenges of this translating verbs is we've got a limited number of verbs, and you probably would have noticed this if you're teaching. As we go through more and more lessons, we just keep coming back and using these same verbs over and over. There's a limited range. There is a limited range, but then in a wide vocabulary, there's also a huge range and variations of them. There's another character in the video called Posty, and she has a mutton bird song. Eru, aru, eru, waru, eru, u, eru, iru. And hiro. Saseru, suru, asu, u, asaru, uru, asaru, u. Okay, so here's all of the mutton bird sounds songs here, and if you like to try and jot those down, that might help you trying to decipher and pick up these patterns. So having sort of learnt these songs and at least heard them, then we might be starting to think about the sounds of the different verbs rather than focusing on the meaning, just focusing on the sound. So try and get sort of the rhythm as it moves from transitive to intransitive. And just a couple of little songs in our head so that if we hear one of these endings, we can try and have a method of working out whether it's probably transitive or intransitive. I've put a few up here now, and you can see there's some samples from each type of transitive intransitive verb. These are also given in the videos if you watch the videos. So asu to eru, we got nigasu, nigeru. Asu to u, we got aso, nakasu. That's all. 明日to waru. Asu to waru. Asu awaru. Asu awaru. So we got nakasu naku. Uguru mawasu. Guru mawasu. Uru aseru. Shokasu. Shokasaseru. Esu ieru. Eru. Aseru. Waseru. Esu ieru. Kesu. Ki eru. Ueru. Sunagu. Sunageru. Aseru. Isogu. Isogeru. Isogaseru. Waseru. Iwaseru. For eru aru. Eru waru. Eru eru iru. Eru aru. Mitsukeru. Mitsukaru. Eru waru. Owaru. Oweru. Owaru. Uru. Sodateru. Sodatsu. Aeru iru. Kangaeru. Kangiru. Saseru. Suru. Saseru. Abi esaseru. Abi eru. Suru. Sagasu. Sagaru. Asu. Nakasu. Naku. Aseru uru. Ketson saseru. Ketkon suru. Aseru Yoko baseru. Yokobu. Okay, so we're going to now watch a video of how do I do this? It's a tab. Okay, let's see if I can just find this. And
動詞が任す。誰かケ
is that it? Yeah.
ーキを作るか。私がケーキを作る。ケーキになる。明日得る。明日う。明日割る。売る。焦る。
うえるうえる。もしもしうえる。
他動詞だ。
何ですか？レシピをわかりますか？
いいえ、レシピを教えてください。
うえる。Separate the wheat, crush the wheat into flour, break up the lumps, fall down and pray.
小麦を離す。小麦が離れる。小麦を潰す。小麦が潰れる。ランプスを壊す。ランプスが壊れる。倒す。倒れる。
Aseru eru, aseru eru. Let the dough sit, delay cooking until late.
ドアをかくらせる。ドアが隠れる。
suru. Search for the cocoa, soak the flour, pour in the cream, drip vanilla essence, fix the mixer, spin the dough, and put the mixer away.
ココアを探す。ココアが下がる。フラワーを浸す。フラワーが浸る。バニラを雫を垂らす。バニラが滴る。クリームを流す。クリームが流れる。ミキサーを直す。ミキサーが直る。クリームをぐるぐる混ぜる。クリームがぐるぐる回る。ミキサーを戻す。ミキサーが戻る。
Who is gonna pound the rice?
誰か小麦を混ぜるか。
いいえ。
誰か小麦を混ぜるか。
いいえ。
私が小麦を混ぜる。
ヒロは他動詞。
Okay, so that gives you an idea of the way the Little Red Hen drama flows. It's an imp sort of making instructions and wishes that are in English and fairly easy for English people to follow, and a transitive character saying the same thing and doing an action in transitive in Japanese, and then the intransitive, which quite often is using the object as the subject in order just to show the immediate translation, is repeating that in the intransitive form. So students here the comparisons and get to work through or just get to see in a really short space of time the way the sounds interact with each other, because all of these verbs, when you convert from one to the other, they do fit into one of our songs, and they will start hearing those patterns more and more often, hopefully start recognizing them as they conjugate from transitive to intransitive. And it's so hard to find situations in the real world where transitive verbs are followed in conversation by someone saying the same intransitive situation. So looking at this, perhaps just go over just a couple as well, so that we can sort of just understand it a little bit better. So probably need a little bit of a closer look. So let's just go
Fair.
through this again.
It's not a fair competition. Positive は beauty contest をケーキを作るか。私がケーキを作る。ケーキになる。
Okay, keiki, watashi ga keiki o sukuru. One of the things with transitive verbs, o, you nearly always have the particle o before the transitive verb. And she's said her subject in that one. She said watashi ga, so watashi, I'm the subject. And then she just followed up. She's used the intransitive of make, which is naru, to become. Make, it's the same meaning, but it's the intransitive way. So it comes into existence. So the Tadoshi is going to make a cake, and from Jidoshi's way of saying this, a cake will be made. A cake's coming to existence. A cake. There's going to be a cake. So the verb is there's going to be, or cake's being made. If we're looking for direct translations, but it's actually just the intransitive form of make a. I'm going to make a cake, which is what Tadoshi said. I have to ring up Auntie.
明日得る、明日う、明日割る、売る、焦る。
Their song.
うえる。もしもしうえる。
他動詞だ。
何ですか？レシピをわかりますか？
いいえ、レシピを教えてください。
Ueru. Separate the wheat, crush the wheat into flour, break up the lumps, fall down and pray.
小麦を離す。小麦が離れる。
Okay. Okay, kamugi or hanasu. That's transitive to separate the wheat, and haneru is intransitive.
小麦を潰す。小麦が潰れる。
Okay, so Tadoshi then says kamugi o subusu. She's actually the subject in this one, so she's saying, I'm going to crush the wheat. But when we talk, we don't always say our own name, like Hayden's going to talk to you now. I'm talking to you, or I can go into this and you know I'm the subject. There's no real need to repeat that, especially in every sentence. We might put it once every now and again at the beginning of a chapter or somewhere. And you can see the action there. Tadoshi's actually, it's all about the action. But Tadoshi's transitive because she's actually crushing the wheat, whereas Jidoshi is just saying wheat has been crushed. There's crushing of wheat going on. There's no reference in Jidoshi's explanation as to who's crushing the wheat.
ランプスを壊す。ランプスが壊れる。
Same with the lumps. The lumps are broken up now, and Tadoshi was the subject. She broke up the lump. So that's subject, object, verb. Whereas Jidoshi, from Jidoshi's point of view, the lump is just broken. There's a breaking of lumps going on. That's the English translation. Is just the intransitive. It means that the thing in there is the subject, which is a lump, and it's broken. The verb acting on it is broken.
倒す。倒れる。
Okay, to make a bit of a bow to the gods. It's going to be a pretty noble cake, this one. Taosu, once again, Tadoshi didn't even use a particle or a subject reference there, but she's just used the transitive form of the verb, and we can see from the action that she is the person that's bowing down. Whereas from an intransitive point of view, the object is Tadoshi. Tadoshi's bowed. And Jidoshi didn't actually say the names of the object, just use a verb. But still it reinforces the patterns and the verbs, and it gives a massive vocabulary to those people who've worked through the whole series. Those who really want to learn them all, there's hundreds, but at least they just see the patterns and hopefully learn at least a few while watching this.
Aseru eru. Let the dough sit, delay cooking until late.
ドアをかくらせる。ドアが隠れる。
Suru. Search for the cocoa, soak the flour, pour in the cream, drip vanilla essence, fix the mixer, spin the dough, and put the mixer away.
ココアを探す。ココアが下がる。フラワーを浸す。フラワーが浸る。
Okay, so they couldn't find a cocoa, so Tadoshi has to go looking for Tadoshi is going to find the cocoa, find the verb, cocoa is the object. From Jidoshi's point of view, the cocoa is found. Just searching and finding of cocoa has happened. Cocoa being, the cooking substance, a bit like chocolate.
バニラを雫を垂らす。バニラが滴る。
And notice the verbs. Tadoshi is almost always using the or as in the particle or, and with the transitive verb, and that's pretty much a telltale that you can just keep in your mind all the time as well. Whenever you hear that or there, it's probably a transitive that they're using in 99% of cases. And then from 自動詞 point of view, it's ga because the object is basically the subject. So it's ga or wa.
クリームを流す。クリームが流れる。
Okay, so I think it's useful at this point again to come back to your songs, and from all the verbs, I'm just going to put a few up here. From all the verbs that you've heard and seen, and there's a few more up on the board here that I know that if I make it too small, you might not be able to see it, but you need to see them all. I mean, there's heaps there. Let's just start with that sample and see if you can make some verbs and categorize them according to your songs. So let's just spend 2 or 3 minutes just writing some of these verbs down to your into lists, and let's try and work back to our groups and see which groups can get the bigger lists. Haven't said that exactly how we're going to do this, I'm not sure. You'll write your list down and we can make the game of that somehow in a minute. Okay, so I had a chance to look at all that and so on. If anybody has any questions, you can contact me on sensei@japan-lessons.com. If you would like to watch this series, then you can come here to japan-lessons.com, which is how you watch it, and you can see that you have the various videos, episode 1, episode 2, 3 and 4 and so on here, and all you have to do is click on them. Yes, they do actually pay-per-view. They're hosted on Vimeo, but episode 1 is currently released free, so there's that's available for everybody to watch. But I do think you have to have a Vimeo account in order to watch it, and I would presume that most people would have one, but I think there's a free version of the Vimeo account that you can register for if you just want to watch the free one. And to be honest, I don't fully know the details of that. These softwares, these people that own these platforms, they change their software and things all the time, and their rules and everything. So I've always known Vimeo to be a very good company, but who knows what the latest and what possible future amendments they'll do to their code. And at this stage, there's still no advertising on Vimeo, so I think that makes it ideal for hosting for the school use, because it could be inappropriate to have some commercial advertising coming in the middle of your lessons. The students are entitled to have a lesson that's independent of sponsorship, I think. So that should work quite well. Okay, so that's an introduction to the Little Red Hen series on how to learn transitive and intransitive verbs, and these fantastic teacher resources that are just sitting there and waiting. And you can just see how easy this is. Once you are a member, you can come in here and you see like lesson 2, you can just come in here and pick that, or you watch this one. You just click on it here if you want to make it full screen.
Presents.
They're all right there. They just run straight through this website. So I would highly recommend that if you are going to use it, you go to japan-lessons.com first and load from there. I'm sure there's other ways of searching and finding them online, but whether it comes out in a nice, neat format that you can use in class, I'm not sure. And good luck and enjoy Japanese.